Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Shannon Scott of Grave Talks, coming to you live, in a sense, from Dayton, Ohio, and the Woodland and Arboretum Cemetery, or Woodland Cemetery and Arboretum and Foundation in Dayton, Ohio. This 1841 cemetery is 200 acres, and it's really the best of stonework and craftsmanship, as you can see, very reminiscent of the stone quarries, that are nearby, and just all of the amazing handiwork that went into the housing and the public buildings and all of the structures. But this is obviously a privately owned cemetery, magnificent and well kept. You can tell that they're really into their gardening, and it shows. Congratulations. As much as I love the South and Southern cemeteries, it's these Midwestern gardens this time of year that really take, the cake. But probably most notable to the cemetery of the Wright Brothers. They're buried out here. Wilbur and Orville Wright. And, if I ever have a son or two, I might name one of them Orville, but unlikely Wilbur. But no disrespect to their parents. As you walk around or drive around this 200 acres or bike around, you can't help but to notice that it's yet another grand Victorian cemetery on top of a setting of hills with one central hilltop. It's very reminiscent of the temple complexes of the mound builders, and I often wonder if some of these cemeteries, not all of them, but some of them out there that have this real hilltop stuff near rivers, like Bellefontaine in St. Louis, if they're not literally built on top of temple complexes, but that type of thing never really revealed, kind of in their official histories. Right inside the front gate of Woodland, you have the gravesite of author and humorist Erma Bombeck. This is kind of one for my mother. I feel like that was one of the more familiar book covers that I saw, and Mom was always reading like Erma Bombeck, I would say editorials, or kind of her published writings in newspapers like the Champaign Gazette, or maybe some of the others where Erma Bombeck made herself popular and legendary. And of course, with books like those great titles, Motherhood, the Second Oldest Profession, I'm at my wit's end, or wit's end, The Grass is Always Greener on the Other Side of the Septic Tank, If Life is a Bowl of Cherries, Why Am I Left with the Pits? Great stuff like that. So, admittedly, I never got into Erma Bombeck in the true sense like my mom, but I always took, I think, some amusement that she was into it. We see a couple derby hats here for the Wright Brothers. Nice little monument here talking about, I believe, the Dayton Bicentennial in 1996, and also just maybe a monument dedicated to the heritage of the Wright Brothers. But I wanted to kind of move up here a little bit and get into the Erma Bombeck Memorial. There's a nice piece of, I guess this is quartz. It looks like a pink kind of feldspar quartz to me, but I don't know if that's true or not. It's been raining, so it's kind of darker. I'm not sure what that is, but I love the quote here because it makes me think of my own mom. I've seen the motherhood role played by men, grandparents, friends, aunts, and even social workers. It doesn't matter who plays it. What does matter is that when the curtain goes up each day, someone is there to dazzle, ad-lib, support, comfort, listen, and fulfill what I feel is the most important role I'll ever be offered in my life. It's the only one I'll be remembered for. Erma Bombeck. Well, Erma, you're being a little humble there. I think you're noted for being the popular humorist and author, but she's buried up here, the nice bench overlooking the road under a couple lovely trees. William Lawrence, her husband, both of them were born in 1927, and he died in 2018. She died in 1996, day after my birthday, April 22nd. Erma Louise Bombeck. Isn't that cool? At the top of the the hill. Again, is it an Indian mound or not? We'll find out. But we have the Huffman family that were German manufacturers. This is really the grave of William Huffman, kind of the patriarch. And I think there are 89 Huffmans buried across this cemetery. And I don't know the whole story. I just know some highlights, but kind of cool highlights. They were machinists or in that type of business. At some point in the 1890s, they acquired, maybe 1889, something like that, 1890, they acquired the Davis Sewing Machine Company, eventually retooling it. They got into, through the grandson, who's also buried out here in a separate monument, so he's not here in this vault, which is a pretty neat vault. But the grandson, famously known for the Dayton Roadster, I believe it was, and then it became known as the Huffman bike or something like that. But of course, mostly popularly, people know it as Huffy. Yeah, that was my first bike. I had a bright orange Huffy. That was like my first bike. It was sturdy, man, back in the day, when it wasn't like completely cheap metal. And I remember it was dark orange. I had so many adventures on that Huffy bike. I'm not going to say it was called the Roadster or Roadmaster, but it was something like that. But, Huffy just sounded cool, had a nice ring to it. But apparently in 1924, it went from like the Huffman, bicycle, and that may not be the official advertising terminology, but in 1924 it became Huffy. But anyway, this is where it kind of starts with William Huffman from Germany, manufacturer, industrialist, and right here in the beautiful, beautiful Woodland Cemetery of Dayton, Ohio, and definitely worth checking out. So if you're in this neighborhood, definitely come check it out. But we'll explore here further in the future and some other neat endeavors here, I hope. So hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for watching.